Okay, anyone? Okay, thank you. Moving right along, we're going to go on to item number 5. We're going to approve the consent calendar, but I understand there's been a modification for this evening.
Yes, Your Honor, we'd like to add a C under Article 6, reports by.
Okay?
Add item C, the Southeast Berrien County landfill.
Okay?
And Sonny Fuller is here to give that report.
Okay, thank you. Do I need a motion for that?
I'll move.
Okay. Can I get a second?
I'll second.
Thank you.
I'll make the motion that we, well, we're going to vote on that one. So
Okay,
let's vote on
roll call, please.
Hess,
Yes.
Moore,
that. Yes.
Torney,
Yes.
Bianski,
Yes.
Cole. Yes. Unanimous, Your Honor.
Thank you.
Your Honor, I'll make the motion that we approve the amended consent calendar.
Okay, can I get a second, please?
Second.
Okay, thank you. Roll call.
Moore,
Yes.
Torney,
Yes.
Bianski,
Yes.
Cole. Yes. Hess,
Yes.
unanimous, Your Honor.
Thank you. All right, moving on to item number 6. We're at reports by departments, committees, and boards. We're at item A, and today we will be hearing from the Fire Chief, Mike Adams, from the Fire Department. Mike?
All right, good evening.
Good
evening.
This is obviously not the end of the year report. You guys get the pleasure of doing it with Bob Blaylock a few weeks ago. I'm sure that was interesting. So this is we're going to need to talk about one of our SOGs, which is our standing operating guidelines, and our strive to always improve, actually strive for excellence. We're trying to change and be better. So this is our officer elections. And we came up with the way we do this back when I took over, and we upgraded our SOGs. And over the past couple of years, we've noticed some holes in the program. So what this is an improvement. And you should have it in your package, and I highlighted some of the areas that we've added or changed. So if you, page 2, I've added a note in there. And what the note basically says, because if you, in section 2, C, says any member wishes to be an officer, once elected, will not be a member of another fire department. Well, that's pretty open-ended. And the intent to that is for an officer on our department not to be part of another volunteer paid-on-call department, to basically be in 2 places. This shouldn't be for somebody that's their full-time work. Myself, an example, I work at the Cook plant. I'm a full-time fire technician there. We have a guy that's on Clay Fire that's a full-time fireman there. So it shouldn't be their full-time work. The intent of it is so we don't have a conflict of interest with our officers if they're on Bertrand or Buchanan Township or Glean or another department like that. We allow the firefighters to do that. We just don't want them to be an officer when they're doing that. But we thought we needed to put a note in here to clarify that if it's your full-time work, that shouldn't count. That's what that basically boils down to. So in section 3, I added a C and a D, and it's basically the last 2 pages. We added a ballot sheet, an actual ballot sheet for the election, and a count record. One thing that the fire department has been really bad with for many, many years that I've discovered since I took over is keeping records. And we're trying to improve that, and this is one way to keep records of our actual elections. And then on top of that, if you go to officer terms in section 4, you see I highlighted, we added just a little statement in the parentheses because we want our captain and our assistant chief to be elected every other year, and our lieutenants every year, because our lieutenants is like a learning position for us. You know, the guys come in, they do really well at it, or they don't like it, whatever. But again, we lost track of where we were at, so without something saying we're going to do it on the odd years, we were guessing. So that's what this is. Just make sure we're always doing that on the odd year, so we know. Since we're going to start from fresh in 2017, so we'll keep it on the odd year. And then the last 2 pages is what we came up with for a ballot record, a yes or a no vote for whoever's running for those positions, and a vacant. If somebody felt that neither one of the candidates, or more than 1 or 2 candidates, didn't want to vote for either one. And then the last page is the record. We came up with a way to keep track of actually how many votes we had and to keep this record on file. and that way we actually had it, because we currently really didn't have anything like that. It was more of just, it happened, and then we didn't have anything to show that it happened. So that's what that boils down to, is just trying to make that process a little better. We've been talking about it for a while, and we, set our nose to the grindstone and got it done here in the last couple months. So, that's really that. Unless you have questions about that, that's what the main reason I'm here. We're going to talk about a couple other things if we have time, but that's the main reason I'm here.
No, go ahead. We're good.
Okay. Well, actually, Chris Kreisler, one of our new firefighters here, he's going to talk about a couple things if you don't mind. It won't take long. What we're doing is we're looking for the future. Like we're talking about, we're always looking to improve. When we know the fire service is changing, Buchanan is changing, so we're looking for some things for the future for ourselves. Nothing set in stone right now, but we are looking at some possible changes in the department, and I have another firefighter who is also found, because one of the things we've been striving for the last few years is a new fire station. One of our guys found an AFG grant that's available for fire stations. So we're trying to get the information on that. I don't have any information yet, but as soon as he gets it to me, then I'll get it to you guys so we can review it. But that is one of the things we have found. And then Chris is going to talk a little bit about some of the things we're looking at for a new vehicle. Not a fire truck.
Like Chief said, we're looking, to help better our citizens. I've started taking a headstrong on this program. In the future, a medical first responder. We've started to discover there is a need, especially for our priority 1 calls to help our citizens. We're always looking to better ourselves. For the time being, until we look further into this, I have gone out and found a few vehicles for multi-purpose before we get to our medical first responder. As we know, we have a 1994 Dodge Ram van that we do not use. It's a safety issue, for one. Everybody knows in the winter, 4-wheel drive, all-wheel drive is a necessity, especially around here with our hills. I took it out once this winter. I'd put it back. I was done with it. We also go out to trainings out to Kalamazoo. We need something very reliable. What I have here is just 3 vehicles. I know this is not your packet, that we are kind of looking at. Nothing's been set in stone. The first vehicle you're going to see is a 2017 Chevy Tahoe. This top price you can see is a civilian price. That if you and I were just to walk off the street, that would be the price. The bottom price you see highlighted is our government price. This is one of the vehicles we're kind of looking at, something not set in stone. We're not really aimed towards this vehicle. The second vehicle is going to be a 2017 Chevy Silverado Crew Cab. You see it's a $43,000 vehicle for normal individuals. For us, it's going to be $31,000. This vehicle for us, with the trails and as the city's growing, it'd be a great medical first responder vehicle. If a merge ever happened, we pull a boat, it'd be almost used for everything for us, as the price is $31,000. Next, we have a Ford Explorer police package. I've got with one of our local dealers who does a lot of the county's vehicle purchasing, and we're at normal $36,000. Bid price, which we have not gone through, is about $30,000, which is one of our least prices. So this is just something we're just planting the seed, letting you guys know this is a vehicle that we like to replace. The van currently has 17,000 miles on it, and it's about 25 years old. So this is a vehicle we're going to keep for over 20 years, not something that we're going to have for 5 years sell. This is going to be a long-term vehicle for us. I know Dan's going to pitch this question at me. What's our value trade-in? We're looking at $2,000 to $4,000. That's without them looking at it right now. If I were to take it down there, I could get something set in stone and get something on paper for you. So if needed, let me know. I'll be here afterwards to answer any questions. That's all I have.
The Explorer wouldn't really be big enough, would it?
Probably not in the overall scheme of things. For right now, we don't need it for first responder, but that's why we're looking for something for the future that can move people and equipment when the day comes. We're not ready to turn to a first responder response team right now, but down the road, we might. There's some real possibilities of that in the future. So we need something that, one is we can move people with, one that is we can use for possible rescues too with the four-wheel drive. There's some different things with the trail and different areas like that, like you talked about the boat launch. There's different areas that we could use a four-wheel drive and we don't have one. And three is with the first response vehicle, something that you can get 2 or 3 guys to a scene and have the medical equipment in the back. So, like I say, it's not something we expect to happen tomorrow, but it is something that we want you guys to know that we're looking at, and that hopefully it's something that down the road we'll be able to do.
Yeah, Mayor, Commissioners, the information provided regarding the vehicles is timely in that we have the budget talks coming up in the next month and a half, 2 months. So it's something for you to consider while we go through that process.
Okay, any questions from commissioners?
I
Yeah,
got
Dan?
one. I'm gonna be the heavy. I've been asking about this, and I'm the heavy anyhow. So are you ready?
I'm ready.
Have you got any idea how big the grant is and how much money we need for a new fire station?
Well, no, I don't have that information yet. The next time we talk, we should.
Okay, now I've been pursuing this combination fire departments. Everybody hates me because Buchanan's fire department is historical. I don't care. This is strictly financial, logistics, cost for everybody. This has got nothing to do with who you are, who anybody else is. Buchanan is in the center of the triangle. Buchanan Township sits just outside the triangle. Bertrand at this college sits outside the triangle, and Bertrand Township sits at the other. So what I'm proposing, okay, and please just let me finish. I want, and I've checked, but I haven't been able to get an answer. The first question I would ask is if our insurance rates would go up if we eliminated the City of Buchanan's fire department as a department, but not as a department. We would still work in conjunction with people, equipment, and money with the other 2 fire departments. I just want everybody to understand that, because this is all about money, and with them being located where they're at, I think logistically there would be no downfalls. Not logistically. You know, I'm a truck driver, so logistically there would be no downfalls. My first question would be, before I even continue on with this, would be to the insurance, because I know our insurance rates went down when we got the 75-foot truck, the ladder truck, if that would change.
I can't say for sure, but my guess is yes, and here's why. Yes, since we get the 94 ladder, and we've had 2 Class A pumpers since then, and with the amount of people we have and the calls that we run and the times that we have, being this small community, and our guys are pretty fast, we maintain an ISO rating of 5, which is pretty good for a paid-on-call fire department, really. Niles City is a 5, and they have staff, so that's pretty good. The townships, both the townships, Bertrand's a little lower number than the actual township, but if we become a fire district, now we're in this envelope, and it would equalize. So it would drop for them and raise for the citizens within the city to probably 1, because now if you become 1 department, you're going to have 1 rating. You're not going to have a rating for this section and this section.
Right.
So it would probably raise slightly. I don't know exactly how much. Like I say, I'm just spitballing here.
No, I know. That would be my very first question, though. And then I would like for the 3 fire chiefs to get together with Bill. I've asked for this, but now I'm really, seriously, I want some communication on this. I want some serious talking, because the money is very, very high. And everybody says, oh, you can't talk about the money. Yes, you do. You have to. And the bottom line is the money, but I do not want to give up safety, and I do not want to give up logistics. I know we have a large number of men that are volunteering, and I don't really want to give up the fire department per se. And, the argument about the historical value, if we move the fire building, the historical value's gone. Me personally, in my personal opinion. You've moved the building. You've moved out of the old building. That's just me personally, so I'm
True, I
not-
mean, there could be a fire department anywhere in the city, it's still,
Buchanan's
still,
Fire
it's still
Department.
the same
But
fire department we established in
We're talking a minimum of
1862.
what, $3 million, $4 million?
For a station we're talking about? For,
By the time you outfit it,
it
and
it honestly depends on what you get. I mean, there's, at the minimum, probably 1.5 is what we're looking at, probably about a minimum.
our trucks are all, what, 15 years old now?
Well, the ladders are 94. They'll be looking at, and I've got some plans to go sit down with Bill for the future for that. Actually, a ladder truck is usually kind of geared for years of life of between 25 and 30, depending on the use. Pumpers are usually 20 to 25. Now, we just had our older 89 Pierce. We had that refurbed a little over a year ago, so we got another good, at least 10 more years out of that. And then the other engine is a 2010, so we got several years with that. So we're doing pretty good there. As far as the combination with the departments, actually, I have sat down with Bill Nisley and Tim Jesswine in the past. We've talked about this a couple times. It wasn't sit down and crunch numbers, but it was talking about it. I would say that, and I'd be happy to talk to him again, I would, but I honestly believe it's going to be more than just the three of us agreeing to it. It's going to have to be the jurisdiction whether I'm talking about both townships and you guys, to actually be able to talk about it, because where the townships are, without putting myself in saying the wrong thing, the townships don't have the financial burden the city does. Okay, that I guess is the way to kind of roll that. They're not hurting for money, and now their manpowers are a little obviously less than ours, but the townships don't pay full-time police departments and water departments and DPWs, and they don't have all that to spend money on. So they're not hurting for a combination. So this is my opinion, that the townships and the city have to talk. The three chiefs have talked, and all of us are in agreement that down the road it might be a viable option. Now that we talked a couple of years ago, obviously, but when we sat down, but the townships don't have the burdens that the city does. Now, the reason that is, you talk about the city going away, because I agree, they're strategically positioned around the city. However, the city is where the hub has to be, because that's where everything is. One, you have to have a fast response to your downtown and your financial area. That's one of the things you have to have. Two is all the schools, all the restaurants, all the things that people come to see are in the city. There's no schools in the townships, and there's no restaurants in the township. Those things are all in the city. So you have to hub here for that quick response, and then use the other stations as remote stations for people that live closer to them can get in there, just kind of like they do now, only it would be maybe a different name or a combination name. This is how I feel that it should go. This is how me telling you how I think that if you want to proceed with your plan, this is the road you'd have to take.
Well, there's no real viable financial, if you have to keep it in the city, there's not going to be any financial viable concept to it as far as combining then, except for helping manpower. I mean, you get called out anyhow.
Well, there's a lot of advantages. There may not be a financial advantage, because I don't know. I couldn't tell you, because I haven't got numbers. I haven't crunched any numbers like that. I haven't spent that kind of time, and honestly, with my full-time work, I really
Well, I know.
haven't.
Bill's cussing me all the time, because every time I see him, Bill Nisley, I work with Bill. So, I mean, I'm
Oh,
bugging him
okay.
all the time.
All
So
right.
he's always telling me to go away.
And I kind of lost my train of thought where I was going. But for us, for the city to not, for the financial burden of it, I don't know how much there would be a gain. I can tell you this: there's a lot of viable possibility with the three departments if we did come together at one point that we could probably house people in the station. That doesn't mean we'd have a full-time staff, 4 or 5 guys, but there's a viable possibility that with the call volume and the financial gain that would be with the three departments, maybe not to the a gain to the city, but the financial gain overall, there's a viability of possibly putting people in the station and possibly doing first response from that station. So those are viable possibilities. I'm not saying it could happen, will happen, but that's a viable that we could probably put a person or two in the station full-time. There's some other options besides having a full-time staff. There's actually, you can pay people an hourly wage and fill slots by actually putting people in the station. There's other departments in the state that do that. So there's some other options. There's some possible, you're talking, one of the big things, there's a couple of big things that go along with our ISO rating. Right now, our ISO rating was a 5. We probably could have hit a 4 if we would have, one, had people in the station. That is a big, big thing, having that person right there. And 2 is inspections, doing fire inspections, which our community, like a lot of them, are kind of lacking in that. So there's some things that we could really get some advantages with that down the road that we could build on.
Okay. Should we table this for now and then maybe have a work session at some point, or how do you want to proceed?
We've,
Just want to talk about it.
yeah, we have moved forward
separately.
with this topic. Again, I've asked Mike to reach out to the 2 townships and have those chiefs sit down again. In the future, a consolidated department is, I think, fairly viable. But I would have to say that we'll need some added development within the city and the townships to help cause that and support it to a greater scale. And as you heard Mike talk, if we consolidate things and now we start looking at personnel, which are expensive, when you're talking about putting people in stations to be available and to run emergency response calls, medical calls, we're not going to be decreasing finances. We're going to be increasing finances. So, it's not an easy question to answer. How to move forward with that, and that's why, in my belief, it's still going to be the spark plug will be the 3 chiefs coming to a consensus that this needs to be done. And until we have that, it's going to be a complicated road to get this to happen outside of their initial level. So, those are my comments.
I'm really against raising any more expenses, because your pot's so big. You only have so much money in it. Everybody has their hands out, and there's nobody, if anybody wants to volunteer and start pooping nickels in the corner, but then they're probably not going to want to share them. I mean, that's my whole point. The money is so limited, and then everybody wants more, but then when it comes time to raising your taxes or raising your service prices, nobody wants to pay more. And because either they can't afford to it, I make fairly decent money, but I don't want to pay more for taxes. For a first response, I might respond, 3 times a year? And, I'm just saying, I'm just saying, we have an ambulance service, I'm just using numbers. I come from Wyoming. If you get stuck in the mountains, you get rescued, but you pay for the rescue. And I mean, that concept would be totally lost back here. If you go out there and you get yourself in trouble, and you were warned not to go out there, and you have to be rescued, you get a bill, to pay for it, so the taxpayers didn't have to rescue your butt.
Yeah. I can tell you, and then this is obviously something like this first response thing, that medical first response, which would be another thing to talk about too in the workshop, is that would probably triple our call volume, right, compared to what it is right now, at least. There's a lot of ways to run that, but it would probably triple our call volume from where we're at now. We run an average 100 calls a year. We'd probably triple that. That's just running first response. That's just running priority 1 calls for SMACUS when they're not here.
I don't understand why it would triple if you got a first response.
Well, I can provide you some information and a briefing coming up about that concept. What you're talking about first response is that we would be running on medical situations within the city. So SMACUS gets a priority 1 call. If we chose to respond at that level, then we'd have a fireman or 2 or 3 responding to that medical call in support of and ahead of SMACUS. So that
and I'd be happy to come to the workshop. I mean, I don't know if I'm supposed to be there or not, but I'd be happy to come talk about it. There's some thoughts I have about the whole combination, that some of the reasons pros and cons for it. I really can't say right now, honestly. And I hate to say this, but kind of got off topic. I think I need a vote for the changes to my SOG.
Yes.
Oh, yes.
And you got that, that's
Yeah.
in the
That's
agenda
later
later.
on.
Oh, okay, all right.
Okay.
We kind of got off topic, so I wanted to
We
bring
got
it
that
back
under
up.
new business, so.
So,
All right. Anything else
Okay.
from anyone else? Okay, thank you. Thank you both for coming, and we'll get back with you in just a minute. Okay, we're on item number 6, reports by departments, committee, and boards. Next, we're going to hear from our water department person, Craig Miller. Craig?
All right, first of all, off topic, I want to thank Mike Adams. He's done a great job with the fire department and the firefighter guys. I mean, they're great. I've worked with them for many years, so you guys are doing a great job, and it's a selfish job to do, so appreciate all you guys do, so. All right, on to me. I've inserted some forms in your guys' mailbox. I hope you guys found them. What I'm here for tonight is we are going to, hopefully, assuming that you guys okay it, participate in the, it's called National Drinking Water Week. It's May 7th. It's it's to help promote drinking water and the utilities of where it comes from, the infrastructure and all the treatment that goes into it, and to basically educate the public for all we do, and let them know what we do as water operators and where their water comes from. It's a national observed week. Canada's also taken part in it. And as of today, before I came down here, right now it's just Ann Arbor and so far us from the state of Michigan that's participating in this, but the list is quite long of all the cities across the United States that are doing it, and there's quite a few in Canada also that's doing it. So, like I said, I got a banner for the Redbud that's going to post the weeks that it's always the first full week in May, and I think we should do this as a continuing thing every week or every year, and I think it's going to be pretty good. And like I said, if you take time and want to read up on the website, if you just type in Drinking Water Week, there's all kinds of activities. A lot of towns do parades. They do stuff all week. They'll do coloring contests and just all kinds of just different activities. So I've spoken with every school in the district for us, and they are all willing to help participate during that week to do some sort of activity, whatever grade level that is. And I also was going to reach out to the library and talk to them to see if they were willing to participate a little something. I also reached out to Michigan Rural Water, which is a nonprofit that helps us out a lot. They will send a guy up to help us out whatever we need. He does a lot of fun activities also. So, like I said, it's something that's going to look good for us. There's a lot of bad publicity for water going around. We've been really fortunate. We got great water, and I think the people really need to see that and appreciate what we got, and maybe inform them also what goes into producing the water that we have for them.
Mayor and Commissioners, what Craig's been talking about is a week-long educational opportunity for the city, which also will enhance our wellhead protection committee that we have established here, been around for several years. And that role is to look out for the water aquifer that we get our water from. And that committee puts up educational information, placemats, signs to help educate people not to put stuff in and on the ground that might pollute our water system. Again, so this would be a great enhancement to that effort as well. And if you had a chance, or if you do have a chance, go up on the website, look at the activities, suggested activities. I think it'll provide a lot of fun things for the kids to do. It'll be enlightening to the general public about the water. Everybody knows that it happens when you turn on the faucet, but again, you're aware of how much work it takes to make that happen. This will be a great opportunity to help spread some of that understanding of what it takes to produce good, solid, clean water. So.
As the mayor, I am going to read this proclamation in observance of May 7th through May 13th as Drinking Water Week. Water is one of our most valuable natural resources, and only tap water delivers public health protection, fire protection, support for our economy, and the quality of life we enjoy. And any measure of a successful society, low mortality rates, economic growth and diversity, productivity, and public safety are in some ways related to access to safe water. And we are all stewards of the water infrastructure upon which future generations depend. And each citizen of our city is called upon to help protect our source waters from pollution, to practice water conservation, and to get involved in local water issues by getting to know their water. Let it be proclaimed that by virtue of the authority vested in me that by the virtue of the authority vested in me as mayor of our city, I do hereby proclaim May 7th through 13th, 2017 as Drinking Water Week. And I would like to personally thank, one of the things when you become a commissioner is you get to go on a tour of all the departments. And as a citizen who just kind of takes that for granted, that was such an interesting day for me to go to the places where the water comes from and see the top-notch equipment we have and the way our city workers protect us and make sure that our water is, clean and healthy for us. And I just feel like it's a really great asset to our city, and we have wonderful city employees that look out for us and do a really good job, and they're always furthering their education, and we can all be proud of them. So would you like to come over and accept this? There you go. Did you want to take a picture? Special moment for both of us. Thank you, everybody.
Am I done? Do you guys got any questions? I know we talked in other meetings, so again, thank you guys. I think it's going to be real helpful for the city. I mean, it's going to look real good for us. So again, thank you guys.
Thank you, Craig.
Thanks.
All right, now we're at item 6, letter C. We're going to hear this evening from Sonny Fuller. He is from the southeast, Berrien County landfill. Thank you, Sonny, for coming this evening.
Good evening. I'm here today because we want to talk a little bit about some things going on at the landfill. And I know one of the things that we've got phone calls from, and there's been some concerns and calls to the cities and everything, is about the smell that you've been having from the landfill. And just wanted to let everybody know that we've been working diligently back since summer trying to get some odors in control. We had the hill that we're putting the trash in, the cell now, we've grown to the point to where it was time to install gas wells. And and it's because it was our choice to be proactive about installing them. We still actually have another year, according to DEQ regulations, before we would even have to put a gas well in. So we want to be forthfront and trying to be ahead of all that as we can. And so it starts with you come up with a design, and then you have to get that approved by DEQ, and that takes a little bit of time when you work with the state. As we know, we've done projects here at the city, I'm sure. And we got approved in the fall time to put in over 900 feet of horizontal gas wells. What a horizontal gas well is, it's a gas well that would basically lay flat across the cell, but at a slight pitch so that the leachate, which is rainwater, has a place to go, because that rainwater will actually cause the gas not to flow through the well, because it creates a block. So we put 900 feet of that in back in the fall, and that project was finished in November, and we spent about $50,000 doing that. We thought that was going to cure the problem, and after we put that in, we seen a slight reduction in the smell, but of course it didn't get the results we were after. So then after that, our next step was in January, we installed another 970 feet of vertical wells, and those are along more of the outside slope. Those are a bit more complicated to do because you have to call a well driller to come in and actually drill them. It's a similar process, like if you've ever seen pictures of the big oil drillers out in the ocean drilling for oil, you know, with these big bits that drill down into the ground. It's the same thing. They drill into the landfill, and then when they pull their drill rig out, now you've got a hole that's about 2 foot around, totally exposed with a lot of gas coming out. And then so we as quickly as we can, we try to put the collection pipe in place, and then we fill that hole up with stone around the pipe, and then, you know, pack clay and bentonite and things around it to seal that hole up, and then we cap it. And we put 16 of those wells in back in January. So in January area, you might have even noticed a little bit stronger odor than normal, and that was why, because that process, as soon as he removes his driller from the hole, there's a lot of gas that comes out of that. So, and that project went on for about close to 3 weeks. We thought we would have it done in about a week and a half, but the weather came in, and the side slopes of the landfill are like at a 3-to-1 slope, and when snow begins to melt or it's not frozen or dry, then that big equipment will slide right to the bottom. And we had to stop drilling for a few days because the drill rig started sliding, so we stopped, because we don't want to get anybody hurt either. So that took a little bit of time for us to do. And then after you put these gas wells in, now you have to install a wellhead on top of the gas well, which is a valve system to where we hook vacuum hoses up to that. What a vacuum hose does is up by our flare, by the gas plant, we have a device called a blower. It's kind of a backwards name, really, because it's actually a sucker. It's like a giant vacuum cleaner in a way. And it pulls vacuum, it sucks on these hoses that are hooked to these gas wells. That's what draws the methane. That's what you smell is methane. Decaying trash creates methane. So the vacuum will pull the methane towards the gas wells. It'll migrate through the actual landfill itself towards these gas wells. And then that's what pulls it up to the gas plant, where the methane is used as a fuel to run engines that turn generators. And that makes electricity. So we make electricity out of our gas from the landfill. But back to the gas wells we installed. We put in 16 gas wells, 970 feet. Where we're at with that now is, of course, with the weather we've been having, hasn't given us a lot of opportunity. It's not been very cooperative. Because after we put the gas wells in, you have to trench a trench in the side of the hill and lay those suction tubes I was telling you about. You have to put them in the ground and then hook them up to the gas wells. And we just haven't really been able to have our equipment up there because it's been too dangerous. The weather hasn't allowed us. We're about 3/4 of the way of having everything hooked up, and then we haven't been able to finish. And you have to hook them all up before you can turn the vacuum on. So as soon as the weather allows, we'll get that finished. We were actually welding pipe together and digging trenches yesterday till the snow came in again, and now it's like sitting on ice up on that hill again. So, but we really anticipate to where within the next 30 days we should have that project done, and then we'll be able to start pulling vacuum on those new wells. And then at that point, we should really begin to see some relief in what would be the smells you've been experiencing.
Dan?
And we have quarterly inspections by the MDEQ. They come out at least once a quarter. And I know there's days where you know, it seems like the smell is kind of rough. But they rate landfills on smell. That's one thing that they test. And 0 being the best rating and 5 being the worst. And in the last few years, we have not exceeded a 1 rating from the DEQ.
Thanks very much, Sonny. I know Bill called you at the last minute.
Sure.
And I appreciate you coming up here and explaining it. I talked to him out there, and I understand it fairly well. Does the atmosphere or the weather make it worse sometimes? I mean, it seems like when I'm out there on the weekend, when it's heavy and cloudy, it's pushing it down more, and so the smell is gonna be more concentrated?
That's true. Yeah, when that atmosphere is real heavy and the pressure will hold the gas down instead of just let it kind of drift off. And that's why there's some mornings where it'll smell a lot worse than others. And I know, of course, Buchanan being kind of down a little bit, the methane gas will float down as it is heavier than when air is that dense.
Thank you very much, sir.
Anyone else?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, go ahead, Pep.
So besides the DEQ monitoring the smells, do you make any testing yourself? What the level of the odors are? Through like an olfactory meter or something like that?
We don't have anything on site that actually measures the odor, other than myself when I'm coming into work in the mornings. I grab my staff. It's like, why are we stinking today, guys? Let's figure it out. You know, we've had a lot of those meetings because my community is very important to me, and we want to be good neighbors, you know, to our community and do everything we can for our community. And I'm very sensitive to how the site looks and in the smells. And there's been some good discussions in the morning with my staff as to why we've been smelling and what we're doing about it. So, and then we do weekly monitoring. There's like 76 gas wells totally on site, and we have one of our landfill employees. He's a gas technician, and he does have a monitoring device where he goes to every one of those wells and he plugs into it, and then we tune the oxygen versus the methane content, because it's just like the gas that runs these engines to make electricity. It's similar to like gas in your car. You know, there's the different octanes of gas. If it isn't right, the engine won't run because it's either too pure or got too much water or something else in it. The same thing is with methane gas. If it's got too much oxygen, the engines won't run. If it's too rich, the engines won't run. So weekly we're tuning those valves to make sure we have the right mixture going to the gas plant to keep the engines running.
Maybe Sonny, you could help clarify a little bit what you actually do with the methane and how that's beneficial to the landfill.
Yeah, it's actually, there's landfills that don't do this, but more and more are getting towards it. But the neat thing about modern landfills is it's not the old concept of the landfill like you think, oh, there's a ravine, let's throw some trash in and walk away, or even cover it up. The modern landfill, it's more like a natural anaerobic digester is what it really is. When we build a cell where we put trash, the state of Michigan, and luckily we live in a state that is this strict, is one of the strictest states in the nation on landfills. We require twice the liner systems that even our neighbors Indiana do. We put down 6 layers of liner before we even are allowed to put 1 bag of trash on that. And those are all combinations of plastics and geosynthetics and clay and those type of things. And then ideally, at the end of when the landfill's done, to make it real simple to understand, you've basically wrapped it like a giant trash bag and totally sealed it off. It's totally encapsulated. And then inside that encapsulated area, as trash begins to decay, then we pull that methane gas, and that methane gas works as a fuel to turn engines that one engine would probably fit in this room. This is how big these things are. And they spin generators that make electricity. And currently our landfill generates enough electricity to power about 1,500 homes daily.
I'm sorry, Sonny, how long has that been going on? I wasn't even aware of that.
Really, since 2008, that gas
Very
plant was
nice.
installed.
Excellent.
Yep.
Do you sell it to AEP then, or how do you?
We sell it to the company that owns the gas plant is called North American Natural Resources.
Okay.
They're a third party. They own the gas plant, and we are a supplier of methane to them.
Okay.
And then they have a contract with the city of Holland where that they actually sell that electricity to.
So how they get it, go
Yeah,
through AEP's
it goes to the
grid?
grid, and then
Okay.
AEP just takes care of all that transferring.
Okay,
Thank you.
Very interesting. Any other questions from the commission? I just wanted to point out too, what you said about being a good neighbor. I don't know if citizens are aware the landfill actually has college scholarships for young people leaving Buchanan, wanting to go on to college. So if you have someone graduating soon, I'm sure the deadline is,
March 31st.
okay, March
Yeah.
31st. Come on, kids, get out there, and
Yeah.
that's a
And
really
it's
nice
for
way to
if-
give back.
If you're a resident that lives within the 5 municipalities
Mm-hmm.
and you're going to go to college, or if you've been in college and you're just working on continuing education, you can apply for our scholarship as well.
So,
Can you tell them how much that we gave out last year and how many students received those?
Last year, we gave out $10,000 in scholarships with 11 students, 12 students. Yeah, 12. And then this year, we've got $12,000 available for scholarships.
very nice. Thank you very much. Thank you for coming.
You're welcome.
All right, now we're moving on to item number 7, unfinished business. We're on A. We're going to consider disposition of the 2 surplus 2008 Eldorado Dial-A-Ride buses as no sealed bids were received.
Yeah, Mayor, Commissioners, in addition to what you read in the briefing, we did publicize the 2 dial-a-ride buses that we have possession of for sale, and during that process, we received no bids, okay? And that was unfortunate, but since that time, and between actually the briefing last Friday and today, we've got at least 3 bids on each of the buses. So it is up to us to determine how and what we want to do. These are all still sealed. If you choose, we could open these up and select a high bidder and sell these buses tonight. Or if you want to continue to seek additional bids, authorize me to seek those for the next week and open the bids on Friday. We could sell them to the highest bidders. Or an additional option, we could try to put them up on an auction block in one of the media auctions and see what we could get as well. But those usually take 15% of the proceeds. They're a little more complicated than what we have right in front of us. So do you have any indication of what you would like to do? Should we open these tonight? And
What was the original deadline? Tonight, wasn't it?
No, the original deadline was Wednesday.
Asked?
got past Wednesday?
Yes, I'm sorry.
Yeah. And we received no bids, so that was,
At 3 PM. I'm sorry, Thursday. At 3 PM.
This Thursday, we were talking about?
This past Thursday,
past
so it would have
Thursday.
came before you tonight to,
so that process has been finished and completed with no
Right.
bids, so.
How does it work then, Bill? If we open them bids and they're not high enough, we have a minimum on them, so
We have a
we
four-
don't have to accept them, right?
We don't have to accept them, no. We put a $4,000 minimum bid on the buses because they appraised at one nearly $9,000, the other one about $6,200. So that's what we, and those were pretty conservative values. So, again, these are 12-passenger buses. They're actually, I know one bus has under 100,000 miles. The other one is just above. Oh, here they are. So, yeah, one has 85,000 miles on it. The other one has 127,000 miles. So I have the evaluations here as well. So.
Do we just need an open forum vote to open the bids, or do we need a motion to open the bids?
Probably need a motion to open the bids, don't we?
yeah, you need to discuss what you want to do with them and then.
Well,
Yeah, make a
our
motion.
options is to do nothing tonight and extend it to the next Friday, or we
you could-
open up
You make a
tonight.
motion to extend it till Friday with, to see if we can get any more bids, and then say it, yeah, I don't
Can't
necessarily
open
see
tonight.
any more bids, but we
We've got
could.
3 of them, that's quite a few.
And then we could open them up at 10 o'clock in the morning on Friday to see who the high bidder is, or you can, if you you want us to open them up tonight, and
I like a bird in the hand.
I'd like to see us maybe extend the time out and see if we can pick up any more, because you might wind up with somebody that would outbid these three.
It's not gonna hurt the 3 that you have, so what you
Right.
need to do is put a motion out that you wanna extend it to another week, and then according to what you're saying there is you wanna open them up on next Friday.
yeah,
So
or
Friday morning
or
or-
Thursday.
or
Actually,
Thursday
Thursday would be
morning.
better. That way we have a day to process.
That way we're
the
not
paperwork.
invalidating anything as far as the sealed bids that we have currently.
Right. These are still sealed, and I'll turn them over to Gladys.
That'd be the 23rd if we were to go for it for next Thursday.
17th, the 17th would be Monday. Before days.
I would
I think-
say,
Maybe in the interest of time, we've had a pretty full meeting, maybe that would be the best course of action, I don't know.
The 16th or the 23rd, this Thursday or the
But
following?
Your Honor, you're gonna need a motion if that's what you.
Okay.
I prefer to move them on this week, so
Okay, would somebody like to make a motion regarding the sealed bids?
for Thursday at 10 o'clock.
Okay,
I'll make the motion that we hold off opening up the sealed bids to next Thursday, which is the 23rd?
16th.
60, I'm sorry,
Yeah, let's
yes.
do it this Thursday.
I'll support.
okay, great. Roll call, please.
Charney?
Yes.
Bianski?
Yes.
Cole?
Yes.
Hess?
Yes.
Moore?
Yes.
Unanimous, Your Honor.
Okay, we're moving on to item number 8, new business. We're going to consider an amendment to the Buchanan City Fire Department Standing Operating Guidelines. Fire Chief Mike Adams, and since we already heard from Mike and we've already had time to look that over, I would like a motion, please.
I'll make the motion that we accept the amended, the amended operating guidelines to the Buchanan City Fire Department, presented by Fire Chief Mike Adams.
Thank
I'll
you.
support.
Okay, can I have a roll call, please?
Bianski?
Yes.
Cole?
Yes.
Hess?
Yes.
Moore?
Yes.
Charney?
Yes.
Unanimous, Your Honor.
Okay, new business item B, consider the opinion on the application or advise of any local noncompliance issues for Lehman's Orchards LLC RID number 868302, reference transaction, add space and new Sunday sales permit PM located at 204 North Redbud Trail. I think, Bill, we need a little explanation maybe about that
Yep.
for the audience.
Mayor and Commission, what we have here is Lehman Orchards discovered that they were a little short on their permit for Sunday sales and for outdoor service at their facility. Both of these items were discussed in the process of considering their business. However, they needed to jump through the hoop. This is the hoop they're trying to jump through right now. What this, again, they've already submitted the application. This is our opportunity to comment, okay, but the new law doesn't really offer us the ability to stop it. We just have ability to comment towards it. Lehman Orchards is compliant with all the building codes and ordinances within the city as they have progressed in their construction and preparation to open their businesses. They continue to work closely with our building department for those, along those lines of code enforcement. So what we're looking at is if there's no objections about Sunday sales, which we've pretty much set the stage for other licenses in the city to allow Sunday sales. We're going to just approve this for Lehman's as well, so.
Okay, can I get a motion?
I'll make that motion.
Okay.
I got one question.
Oh, okay, one
Support.
question, go ahead.
What is the ad space?
Is
What is the ad space? Is that just something inside the four walls of the brewery, or,
No, they want to add outdoor
I know they want to
seating.
go outside,
yeah, that was.
but is that part of this referendum, or is?
outdoor service would be what was identified in the plan for the south of the building outside
On the
along
Third
Dewey
Street.
Street. Yeah,
So this is nothing more than that?
right.
Okay.
If he wants outside service on the north side
He's
of
gotta
the
go to,
building,
he's gotta go to the planning
yeah, by
commission.
the,
Yeah.
yeah, he's gotta go back to the plan
Okay.
commission and make that
Okay.
request. But in the plan, his initial plan, was all discussed, we actually, discussed the jog and the sidewalk
Right.
that he would have to,
All right.
complete.
Right.
And so we would allow that, I just said,
Okay. So this doesn't include the other part that he wants, maybe in the future. Okay.
Right,
Okay.
right.
All right. Can I get a motion, please?
I think,
We got a motion.
Okay. We have a second? All right, we'll take a vote, please.
Cole?
Yes.
Hess?
Yes.
Moore?
Yes.
Tony?
yes.
Bianski?
Yes.
Unanimous, Your Honor.
Thank you very much, Gladys. Okay, we're on to item number 9, public comment. Citizens are allowed up to 3 minutes to discuss any non-agenda items. When you come to the microphone, please make sure that you say your name and your address. Thank you.
Dr. Andrea Vanderlaan, 705 Ottawa Court. I'm coming today just to bring you some information and ask you to consider some things before you vote on March 27th on the medical marijuana. You know, I sit on a lot of boards in town. I've been with a lot of community members over the last couple of weeks. You have some unhappy citizens, and so I'm asking you to take a look at some things, because what I'm hearing is, A, that your venue may not have been large enough last time. People might have been standing outside the door or in the parking lot. I don't know. I was not here. That's some rumors I'm hearing. If so, that's in direct violation of the Open Meetings Act. So I'm asking you to take a look at that. And if you think that you may have a large crowd and you may need a bigger venue, please come talk to me. Be happy to help you. Because we do want to make sure our community members have a place to talk and discuss and be there with you. The second thing I've heard is that there may be conflict of interest on the city commission. I don't know what that means, and the person would not disclose that, but I know in the school system, if there's a conflict of interest, it's spelled out in our bylaws. Our board members have to self-disclose and then abstain. So these are things that are being talked about in town. Third, I'd ask you to consider, this is my personal thing I'd ask you to consider, is you have community members that are upset. I know there are pros and cons. You can tell I'm on the con side. But I'd ask you to think about, regardless of the laws, regardless of revenue, regardless of whatever, that you really listen to your community who elected you into those positions, and that you vote the conscience of the constituents here in Buchanan. Okay, thanks.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much. Okay. Anybody else?
Don't allow it.
No, can you come next week? Sorry, we really have rules. We set them up for a reason.
So for non-agenda.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, though. And I'm sure Mike would want to talk to you afterwards, too. Yeah, excellent. Thank you. Okay, anyone else this evening?
Hi, I'm Kathy Kay at 111 West 3rd Street here in Buchanan. And I'm so grateful for what the doctor said, because all of these monsters has been going through my head, you know, that you guys aren't listening to us, and she put it all so great. She put it in order where it belongs, and I just want to thank you so much. I mean, I appreciate it, because I feel as though us as citizens have not been listened to, you know. And
I'm sorry, I would really like some clarification about how you think that we have not been listening.
But you're not supposed to interrupt me.
Okay.
You're not supposed to.
Okay.
You've done that once
Go
before.
ahead. Yeah, but I have questions.
You did.
Go ahead.
Yeah, you did that once before. I don't remember exactly what. Oh, because I had said one time, Mrs. Hess, that we have other things, other issues that we need to look at in the city before we open up more new things. And one of them was the smell of the landfill, and you shut me up right then and there. And I was just making a comment that we have other issues to do, to take care of, besides just this thing that so many people don't want. And you shut me right down. And I don't appreciate that.
She did not shut you down,
Yes,
ma'am.
she did.
No,
Yes,
she
she
did
did.
not.
You know,
We were
Bianski-
conducting a meeting on marijuana, and you,
Bianski,
no, ma'am.
I'm not
You were-
gonna argue with you.
We will. We were conducting a meeting on marijuana at the time, and she asked you to stay in the rules of what she had stated at the beginning of the meeting, marijuana. Now, the thing about it is, freedom of information and freedom of speech are one thing. But to come up here and start insulting us is a completely different thing. We had plenty of room in here for the meeting. We had plenty of room in here for the meeting. You know, and we do, and we have listened to you all. But she didn't rudely interrupt you. I just rudely interrupted you because you called her down. And you're not going to do that. Not while I'm sitting next to her. I might be. I might be. I might be. And I acknowledge that fact.
And I
But
will
she
s-
was too.
And I will start your 3 minutes over again. Please, I just needed some clarification. I would really like you to stay after the meeting and come approach me directly, please. Thank you. I've restarted the clock for 3 minutes.
All right, thank you very much. And just for that outburst, you know, is why I don't feel as though I'm being heard and listened to, because, you know, he's not, I always felt, you know, that he was not supposed to make up his decision until later. But I just don't feel that medical marijuana is needed in this town. I feel that we've done well without it, and I've thought and thought and thought about this, and I don't see what good outcome would come of it. You know, I think, like Alice Kring said the other day, we have children, you know, that we could help, and we have other concerns other than having to live with medical marijuana in our town when so many of us don't want it, and I really don't want it. And I thank you for listening. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Vanessa Burns, 808 West Front Street. I can't believe you were ever voted in. You are the rudest man I've ever met. And for you to be a professional, you should have never been voted in. And I hope that you are not voted in next time. You are very rude to sit on this panel and talk to people like that. We voted for you, and you are very rude.
Anyone else this evening?
A couple of the meetings, I asked the commission to check into something, and maybe, I'm sorry, Jeannie Harris,
Thank you,
320
Jeannie.
Bluff Street here in Buchanan. And I asked the commission to check into something, and maybe my request got lost with all the questions and the comments about the medical marijuana dispensary. But I brought to the commission my concern about our neighborhood and the fact that at one time it was really, really drug infested. Now it seems that, you know, it's becoming infested again, not as bad. But I did mention that we've had 3 heroin deaths within the last 2 years. And I know there was a couple of drug raids back in the fall, or I'm sorry, in the spring. And we have citizens that are allowed to have these medical marijuana plants. And I know a couple homes got broken into, you know, because citizens had these plants. And I asked the commission if you all would check into this. Why are we having these heroin deaths? This is a neighborhood of 5 streets, and 3 deaths within the last 2 years is a lot to me. You know, having a drug raid in a neighborhood of 5 streets is a lot. There were 2 homes. So, you know, I would just like to know if someone's going to check into this, do a study, and get back to me.
Okay. Bill?
Yeah, we're aware of the heroin epidemic that is in and around us. Again, Jeannie, you just have to open up the paper, turn on the TV, and you'll see what's going on. Is it here in Buchanan? Yes, it's here in the the Buchanan. It's here in the township. I just spoke to the sheriff this morning about, and his concern with the amount of heroin activity that we have locally, where it's coming from, and what it is. It's some very strong stuff that's appearing. People are unaware of its potency, and unfortunately, they're using the same amount that they used the last time, but this is much stronger, and it's causing some serious repercussions. Do we know where they're all at in town? No, we don't. And if somebody does, pick up the phone and give us a call. Give us an address where we can go to check on things, okay? We know it's present here. But I don't know what else, what else more you want.
What about the two homes where the two persons, died? Have you guys checked that out, or?
Yeah,
They're on the same street, one at the
those,
corner, one further
actually,
down.
the one I think you're speaking about is still actively investigation. It's tied with some others that occurred in other parts of the county. We know that we believe there's a link between those. And I know, all I can tell you right now, they're actively being investigated. Because that was part of even a conversation today that I had.
My question was, and my request was because of the fact that, you're considering this medical marijuana, that will bring problems. So we've already got drug problems here, so why bring more into the city of Buchanan? So, thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you, Jeannie. Anyone else this evening? Okay, that'll close our oops, okay, I'm sorry. Thank you.
My name is Pamela Sten, and I'm at 605 West 4th Street, Apartment 2 in the city. I've been at several of the meetings regarding the medical marijuana, and I attended one of the meetings that said that there was to be a training for commissioner types or administrators. I believe it was in Ann Arbor. I've been on the website trying to see if there was anything said about that. Thought maybe there'd be an update that would be given to us at the meeting tonight. And so I was wondering about that, if anybody from here went to that and what they may have found out from that meeting.
Okay.
Before the vote takes place.
Yes.
Next
We went to Lawrence, Michigan, Monday, and I believe, Mayor, I can't remember exactly the dates. Do you have them down?
It was Monday evening we went.
No, but the Michigan Municipality League was giving out some other classes out that,
I'm going to attend next week. I'm going to the Michigan Municipal League in addition to the one I went on Monday to learn about municipalities and how different municipalities look at medical marijuana industry. The one we went to on Monday, Deborah Patzer, our fellow city employee, came
right,
with us.
it was me, the mayor, and Deborah. We went to Lawrence, and I went to Niles on Tuesday.
So we've been spending a lot of time learning. So I will be I will probably be telling a little bit about what I found at that meeting on the evening of the vote. I don't have my presentation ready, though. I've been taking care of my aunt and working full-time, but by the time we vote, I'll have a little package of information for you.
So, and public comment would that be at the beginning of the meeting then, or?
It will be on the agenda, so public comment will become at the end of that, or at the beginning of that meeting.
So that would be before we would hear your presentation about it?
Yes, probably.
That's not really very helpful to help
Okay.
us.
Well, maybe we'll have to look into that and make an exception. We're required to run these meetings according to our city charter, and these agendas come right out of the city charter. So maybe we can come up with something a little bit different to handle that. Okay,
or
thank you.
Yeah, something in writing ahead of time,
Yeah,
maybe?
yes.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm just a little behind. Thank you.
Quick comment about the Lawrence program. That was presented by the Michigan State Extension, I believe, and it dealt primarily with, it was a 3-hour program, similar to what we provided in the hour-and-a-half program. It was a review of the law, the parameters of the law, regulations involving the law. Again, Dale and the mayor attended that. There was a lot of municipalities that were present and asked questions. I was not there, but from what I'm hearing, it was a very good exchange of, again, an opportunity to educate communities on the parameters of the law. So,
If I may, Bill,
Yep.
and Mayor, it was basically, the law was, original law was 2008, and that law was changed for this PA 281, 282, and 283. If I'm correct, Mayor, 2015 was it that they made that change?
Yes. Mhm.
So what they did is they took the old law and updated the new law, and they gave us quite a bit of information on updates on what everything is covered and how it would work in the city. And like Bill was saying, well, he wasn't there, but there was quite a number of municipalities and county officials at this meeting. And it was actually a little bit, about 3 hours long. And it was run by the attorney from the municipality league. And she gave quite a presentation. I'm not sure how we're going to put everything into context on this, or probably make a summary, or what?
Well, if you want to summarize what we had said, I could also maybe have it be put on the website. I don't know how that would work,
we could,
because I got handouts.
I mean, I'm sure the outline of the program could be publicized quick enough, so.
All right.
Probably, yeah.
Basically, the original medical marijuana laws were very loose, and they weren't very good. And they've been changed significantly so that the power really goes to the municipality, not to the grower. Mostly, we would be, if we vote yes, we would be setting up very strict zoning, very strict ordinances. It would probably eliminate people growing marijuana in their basements because you would have to come to a dispensary is kind of how I understand it. Making it more legal, like it would be at if you got oxycodone at Rite Aid, that's what this would be like. Like right now, if I was stricken with MS or Parkinson's or cancer, or I had PTSD, I would have to find somebody to grow my marijuana for me, and there would be no way for me to know if that was a pure product or not, because the person would be growing it, in their basement or some other area of their home. The new marijuana laws would require the medical marijuana to be grown in a licensed facility. Everything would be tested, so there's a lot less danger to the patient, and it is going to legitimize medical marijuana so that it's not, you're just not buying it at whoever's house. It's more like a pharmacy where you can go and buy in confidence if that's something you choose to do, if you want to exercise control over your medical, needs. And also, I would like to address the heroin epidemic. The heroin epidemic in this country, if you do reading of current research, comes directly from the pharmaceutical industry. What happens is poor, unwitting people have pain and issues. Maybe they have an accident, and they're prescribed these really high-powered things like morphine, oxycodone. We've seen those before. And then their prescriptions end, and they're highly addicted, and then people turn to, the street drug, and that's what kills them, and they don't have, any control over the amount they're getting. And that's why we see people dying from those sorts of things in our town, is they get hooked on them in other ways. So those are just some of the things we learned and talked about. And I'll do the best I can to get you any information you would need.
Your
So,
Honor, if
yeah.
I may?
Yeah, go ahead.
Just to give you some figures, this was updated by the Michigan municipality, and this figure was updated on September 30th, 2016. Legal caregivers right now in Michigan is 36,187, which means is even if it was yes or no, these people can still grow it in their houses because they're legal care users, okay? But they're already legalized. So it's legal to grow in their house because they're caregivers. Actual patients with the medical marijuana card, 204,000. The Berrien County actual card holders, and this is only as of, I believe, 2014, there was 1,722, so it's probably higher now. I'm just trying to give you some figures that they gave us and how it would work. Hopefully that can help or whatever.
Okay, anybody else for public comments? Alrighty, move on to the city manager's comments. Bill?
Mayor, Commissioners, just a couple of them. Quick update. I think you saw a little bit in the briefing about the Ross Sanders House, our efforts to make some improvements in the structure, interior, to better position ourselves for potential use of that structure as an escape room site or an event site. Again, I haven't seen the improvements, but I know our crews worked heavily on it last week. I think the mayor has had an opportunity to see the interior. They did a lot of work in a short period of time, really drastically improved the interior. And again, this is something that is beneficial to the Preservation Society as well. So it's an improvement for both ourselves and to position ourselves for potentially getting a escape room event site at that facility. That moved right along. Again, I hope to see a draft of the potential lease this week. Once I get that, we'll start going through it, and I'll send it up to Randy for his review. Let's see. Again, if you haven't, go up on the internet, search for escape rooms, and you can see and get an idea of what those are, how they operate. The ones that have opened have become very popular. They are attracting a pretty good crowd of people. Again, we would be running 2 rooms here. So we would have a maximum of 24 people on site doing 2 different sessions. And those people usually leave there, go down to the local eateries and establishments to take part in the community. So I see that as a very positive thing. The other item in your information this week is to provide some feedback on the Garden Club's inquiry and basically request to move forward with an idea to try to beautify the gray metal control box down there at the intersection of Red Button Front. In your packet of information, you had 3 examples of some of the things they can do with those control panels. I'm waiting for the Garden Club to get back with me on their individual ideas for our box, and when those arrive, I'll send them on to you in the briefing for your consideration and some further discussion at a meeting. So now that's all I have. In this past week, we were hit with some heavy winds. Again, we had more tree issues. So we're anxious for spring to arrive and we can start setting up our tree crews to start addressing some of the tree problems we have in the city.
Stuff on the garden club, if we could get that information, that would be handy for our upcoming budget committee, wouldn't it help
Yeah.
us out?
Yeah. Well, I mean, if we chose to help finance it, I think the costs are about $500 to $800, so it's not significant necessarily. Would be
Yeah, I think
a
it's
budget
a,
concern item for
it's
discussion.
a good idea to kind of look into. That would go inside with the Welcome to Buchanan City sign
Yeah.
that needs to be
Yeah.
painted. That could be done at the same time then.
Did you have something, Dan? Go ahead.
There's not gonna be any issues with messing with that box though, is there? Have you
No.
talked to the engineer?
No, it'd be all exterior work. You know, they would, I think their intent is try to blend it in more with the landscaping around it.
And then the only other question I have, is it gonna be an annual lease for Ross Sanders, or is it gonna be a monthly lease, or?
Oh, it would be, the discussion would be in a 2-year lease situation. So they would like at least 1 year with a renewal for a second year if things are going well. Again, these are entertainment events that may have a short life period or it could be around for a while. You know, when they started the haunted house out here, I don't know how long they thought that would last, but it's been around for 20, 30 years.
Long time.
A long time, and this seems to be very popular. It's got a lot of a good following already, and Ross Sanders offers a pretty unique setting in that the old 1950 jail cells are still in the back. They're excited about writing a story for that particular characteristic of the building, and it would create a lot of foot traffic downtown. So I think it's a very positive opportunity for us.
Sorry, I had to turn it on for my timing.
Bill has 3
Okay,
minutes.
yeah, that was my 3 minutes. Okay. Anything else, Bill?
And then this one.
Did you have anything else?
That's it.
Okay,
Sorry,
great.
ma'am.
We'll go on to commissioners' comments. We'll start down here this evening with Commissioner Turney. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Honor. All I have to say is I'd just like to thank a couple employees here in the city. First off, Mandy, I think she does a great job with the city newsletter. That's fantastic. I think it's great. I think anybody who hasn't received it, I believe, Bill, just send the email to the city and we
We're
can
looking for
get it
emails.
to them. It's a lot of informational news on the city, gives you great updates, gives you everything that sort of you need to know for the month or the week. Actually, it's for the month. She does a great job. JT, I don't know, every time he knows how to fix things, and I just wanted to thank JT for his continual service for the city. Every time we seem to have a problem, he seems to know how to fix it, or he gets with Bill and they seem to correct it. The one other gentleman I like to make notice of is a gentleman by the name of Sweet Robinson. He's a policeman. I know him very well because I work with him over at Notre Dame. And I don't think a lot of people really know how much time he puts in over at Notre Dame as the head boxing coach for Bengal bouts. He's with those kids. They start in October and they don't finish until March every year, and he does a great job. And I don't know if the city even noticed if he does that or not. I just want everybody to know what an outstanding person and individual and leader he is. It's just great talking to him. I also wanted to make mention about the Buchanan Recreation Board. They just came out with their new 5-year plan. I thought it was perfectly done, giving you a lot of information on the demographics of the city, the heartbeat. Is that available for citizens to actually, so if you need to know more information, it's like the Bible of the city. In fact, before I even moved here, I looked it up, and that's how I found out about Buchanan. So I did a lot of research. And I actually stopped in over at Ross Sanders one day, and I want to tell you, Bill, that the city employees there are doing a really good job. So that's all I got to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Dale. Carla?
Mike, I just want to say thank you for all that you do for our fire department, and thank you to all the guys on the fire department. They're always being educated, they're always learning, and they do a fantastic job. And they certainly do a lot of work for us, with us real on the hill and et cetera. I think they work harder than anybody else, and they have fun. But I just want you to know that we appreciate all that you guys do, and it's really important to us that you do that. So thank you.
Thank you, Carla. Dan?
You know, I'm always going to give you guys a hard time. Pretty much everybody a hard time. And as far as getting elected, I want to answer that directly. I'm the only one that put my name on the ballot. There's 4 of us up here that have ran unopposed. She was appointed, and I'd guarantee you that if she run tomorrow, she'd be unopposed, because we just had an election where we had 2 commissioners run unopposed. When I ran 2 years ago, 2.5 years ago, I spent some money on signs. It was needless money spent because there was 3 openings, 3 people. So that's how I got elected. So I'm up here. So if you want my seat, you can have it in 2018. You can have it.
Okay.
Well,
Okay.
well, maybe I do. I'm a counterweight to some of the stuff that goes on up here. And as far as the marijuana, ma'am, I have studied this since 2008. And when that law was written, the people that wrote that law should have been right out on a rail.
Okay,
Thank
we got it.
you.
Okay. Okay. Do you have anything else?
I'm
Okay.
done.
Pat?
Okay, I have a couple things. I wanted to, one of my committees is the Tin Shop. I wanted to recommend to everyone here in the city to come to the last weekend of Kitchen Witches. It's directed by Martha Branson Banks. It's very funny. It is adult-style humor, but the audience does interact with the play, and it's really great. So you only have 3 more chances, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, to get your tickets, and the telephone number to call for reservations is 695-6464. I also had a couple other concerns, and I wanted to ask Bill about if someone wanted to get Narcan in the city to have, is there any program or some way that a citizen who, and just by way of explanation, when people do have opioid or heroin overdoses, Narcan is a life-saving medication that can be given. If you do it in a timely way, the person might actually survive the overdose. But it is one of the reasons why these guys are talking about first responding to get people and these life-saving items to people. So is there any program or any way that we can promote that? I know there are some places where they will have it available for people to have if they have a family member they're concerned about. Can we look into something like that?
I can do that. I know that we have it provided to the police department through the health department, and that's as far as I know.
So if people call 911 if there's an overdose or they suspect someone is overdosing,
yes,
they can call 911, and
yes,
the police should have Narcan
yep,
available.
yep.
Okay, thank you. Also, I wanted to ask you about, the current situation with people growing marijuana in their homes is actually being monitored and, controlled by the health department. Is there any way we can have them come to a meeting regardless of what happens, like at the next meeting, just so we know what they are doing as far as what is their, how are they monitoring this situation, so.
That's a good question. I would like to know.
Well, I think we should invite them to come to a meeting so we can get information directly from the people that are responsible to monitoring that. And then everyone would be either concerned or more confident that, things were being handled properly. But right now, we don't have any control over those grow operations that are legal. Let's say they're legal. And the third thing is I am a little disturbed, we're hearing everybody and, we're all gonna make our decision at the right appropriate moment, whatever that will be. But I am questioning, people bringing up the idea that there's a conflict of interest of anybody here. If you were attending the attorney's meeting at the first session that we had, it was an hour and a half talking about this new law. There's a whole page of disqualifications that keep people from even being considered for one of these licenses. And one of those disqualifications is being an elected official. So not one of these people up here, including me, can get one of these licenses. It is illegal. We can't even apply for it. So if someone has an idea that there's some other kind of like side deal or conflict of interest, are you trying to say we're corrupt in some way? We've put hours and hours listening to people, but for people to hint that there's something that's not right, I want to hear exactly what you know and what you think you know, and I want it out, because that is not fair to everybody here and our reputations and our positions, whatever they may be. It's been talked about a little bit at the microphone. It's been received in written, anonymous communication. That's not being fair, people. If you have something that you know is not right, let's bring it out, because then we can deal with it and look at it fairly. And I'd be happy to talk to anyone about that. But just to hint that there's something, we're getting something out of it, we're not getting something out of it except a tired butt sitting here, okay? So trust me on that one. But I do appreciate everyone coming to talk to us, because it is really important. This is your community. This is my community. I want the best outcome to happen regardless. And so, sorry to get irritated, but it's not fair to make comments like that. So, without me being able to say, no, that isn't the case and here's why. But when you don't even say what it is, I have no opportunity to defend myself, except to say, not one of us can get one of these licenses. It is not legally possible. It is written into the law that we are all disqualified. So just forget about it, that we are going to
Make millions.
start a bunch of whatever. It ain't happening. It's illegal. Okay, end of my soapbox.
Okay, thank you. And for the mayor's comments tonight, Dale kind of stole my thunder with the whole recreation plan, but I wanted you to know that our city parks have kind of suffered from neglect. When the economy tanked, and it's been a really slow recovery, and unfortunately one of the first places that a community would be able to cut is the parks. So we're trying to get the parks back on schedule. And if you have any spare time and would be interested, I highly recommend attending some of our BARB meetings. They have a lovely plan, a great budget that starts in 2017 with some pretty simple stuff and goes all the way through 2021. And they have set up what needs to be done at every park. And I just think this is a beautiful document. In fact, until I looked at this document, I did not know we even had a park that's called the Tot Lot. Apparently, it's for the little people, and it's not very well marked, and that's what I would like to see changed. But we need your help. We can't do all of this and, fix up the parks. We need citizens, volunteers. If you know anyone that would be interested, please get in contact. Gladys is always helpful to, get you an application or someone, and you can also check in at the front desk, but we could really use some help spiffying up the parks here in town. The children really love them, and they're great gathering places for all sorts of people here in Buchanan. And with that, I'd like to adjourn the meeting. All in
Your Honor.
favor? Oh, sorry.
Make a note about the market master.
Oh, yeah. I forgot. Also, we've lost our market master for the farmer's market downtown, and we are looking for someone to work Saturday mornings. I think you start at 7 and you're done at like 1 or 1:30, and your job is just to be down there and help the vendors get set up, answer questions, make some coffee. You'd basically just be a host or a hostess, and I think you do a little bit with like publication, and you would kind of work with the market board for good outcomes for the farmers market. So we're looking for applicants for that too. So sorry about that. I wrote it down and I skipped right over it.
That's okay.
All right, and with that, I'd like to have a motion that we adjourn the meeting, please.
Also move.
Okay, second?
Second.
All right,
We got to sign checks.
all in favor? Aye. Thank you.